Am I being the kind of person I think I'm being? Let's delve into that and how to find out. It is morning meditation. I am Ann Morrison, and welcome to Ascension Studios. The kind of person that you think you're being. Now, let's take this from a purely positive sense. It's easy for us to point out our negatives, isn't it? And it has been ingrained in so many people what all their negatives are. So what is it that we think we're being? And is that what we choose to be? And the way to find out is to look at it in hindsight. This is the whole basis for therapy. You look at it in hindsight and then you desensitize it so it doesn't mess with you going forward. But you don't want to desensitize it so much that you forget the lesson that you learned from it, and that's an important part of you being who you are. So look back and recognize it and say, okay, I got too mad at my children at this point in time. I got scared, I did this might have been the right thing, it might not have been the right thing. At that point, was I being the person that I thought? At the moment, yeah. And do I still think, in retrospect, that if someone else had done that, that would have been okay? Sometimes, in being a human being, you risk everything to be able to imbue a certain part of knowledge that is extraordinarily important at the moment. And was it the right thing? Well, it doesn't matter, because right and wrong don't matter. They are simply concepts of the human mind. They are not true. They don't exist. Was it me being the kind of person that I wanted to be at the time? Yeah, it was. Looking back, I might have done it different. But at that time, I wasn't really dealing with the same amount of information that I'm dealing with now. And it's like telling the 3-year-old that stole a cookie off the table, you're bad. Well, you're not bad. You saw a cookie, you wanted a cookie because you've had a cookie, and cookies are good. With what they had at the moment, that was the most logical choice. They were not yet prepared to deal with all the emotions of everyone else. From the time they're born until 5, they are simply dealing with transitioning into this world as the individual that they are. It's only after 5 that they start actually grabbing on the concept of other people and how other people can be important, and being respectful to other people is also important. So you can't expect that 3-year-old to not go after the cookie. Just like you can't have expected yourself to do something that might now seem like it was a better option, because you were not, at that time, anything but the 3-year-old going for the cookie. Which is an analogy that's not... It doesn't seem like it's strong enough for some of the things that we have done. But it's the same scenario. You were operating under the information that you had at the moment. And at the moment, you thought you were doing the very best thing that you could. Take away the right and wrong of everything. Take away what I would have done now. Were you doing the best that you could in the moment with what you had? Yeah. Now you can start to layer in, what would I do today in the same scenario? Would it be different? Maybe. Factor in all the emotions. Factor in the time period in which you were living. Factor in all of the stresses under which you were living under. Going back and trying to second guess things that happened in the past is only to help the future. So as soon as it stops becoming helpful to the future, you can stop. Just stop. The way to make it helpful to the future is to, first of all, forgive yourself. I forgive myself. My motives were the best motives that I could have had at the time, and I did the best I could. Maybe it was the right thing, maybe it was the wrong thing, and I don't have a clue if I will ever know. Again, see, I still do right and wrong all the time. We are so used to categorizing things into right and wrong, which makes us go into those boxes too. And most of the time when we go into those boxes, we're not going into the good one, if you're female. Or you're going into the good one and justifying and defending something that you, at this point in time, might have done different, without allowing yourself anything but the defense of what I did or the defense of who I was. I was raised to be a totally different person than I am. Should I consider myself wrong and bad and terrible for that? No. I shouldn't. Have I taken over and decided to steer my life on my own path? Yes. What is it that, given the retrospect to look back, would I have changed? Not judging it. It was the best I could do at the moment. So we're not looking to judge ourselves in the past to pile up more guilt and blame or more need to be defensive. We are looking to be able to take the lessons we have learned and use them in a positive way for us to be able to go forward in a way that is much more authentic to the person inside and the gifts that that person has in the future. So, you take this information and you recognize what it was, and you recognize where it was, and you recognize what was going on when it was. And then you can see, okay, well, I might have done this other thing. Maybe that would have been a good option too. At this point, there's no way of knowing. But what we have done is given ourselves a set of choices for the future so that we're not stuck in the same thing that we did before, simply defending it. It was what it was. The best that we could do at the moment was what we had, where we were. What can it be now? If something like that comes up again, can I handle it in a way that has more options? Yes. That's the reason to look into the past. You're not trying to desensitize it. It was emotional. It was reactionary. It was the best that could have happened under those circumstances. With more knowledge and with more insight and with more patience, we can look back and we can see that there are other options that could be taken now. And when we take the time to work them out, we've actually built them into the synapses in our brain, so that instead of just the reactionary option, we now have multiple options in the same type of scenario going forward. So all that is needed is a deep breath, and the knowledge that we can take a deep breath to be able to open ourselves up to other avenues that can be used under the same type of circumstances in the future. We're going to go into our meditation. We're going to remind our brain that in times of stress, in times of agitation, fear, anger, confusion, weakness, that now is the time to take a deep breath and open up to the options that we have laid in place by taking our past and examining it. Not to judge ourselves negatively, to be able to set in place options that our brain can take us on in the future that are not the same option that maybe we took at that time. While it is still there, now we have a choice. And with a deep breath, we can find all of those choices. And then we can be much more in control of our presence here. And that's a pretty big thing. And it keeps us from whining about the past when we take away the right and wrong of it. And it keeps us from blaming, because it takes away culpability when you take away the right and wrong of it. It simply was a scenario. And what are the other options that could have happened in this scenario? Not by somebody else, by me. Okay, so I had to deal with this situation. I dealt with it this way. Now that I am not under duress, I am not in the moment, I am not in a place of fear, what would the other options be? I can see them now. And so the next time that I feel that fear rising, I feel that anxiety coming, I can say, oh, yeah, there are some options here. We know when we're getting reactionary. Blood boils. We know when it's happening. Our entire physiology changes. And we're going to put in the breath in our meditation. And then the options are yours. Non-judging to yourself first. Non-judging, because we don't have all the information of where that person was, the different options that they could have done. We weren't in that place. We didn't know the stresses that they were under. We don't know the wounds that hadn't been healed, the trauma that hadn't been gone through. We have no idea if they were capable of another option. We know intrinsically. People out there are doing their best. They really are. They're trying to do their best. And so many times we fail at what we think is the most perfect scenario, when there's no perfect scenario ever. None. Which means you cannot fail at it. You are simply going to load yourself up with options. Ingrain, taking a breath when that feeling rises up, so that the next time that you're in a scenario that resembles that one, there are more options that will present themselves than the one and only option that you had at the moment in that reactionary state, not knowing what you know now, to be able to act upon. It's okay to have been human. It's okay to have made a mistake. And it's okay to look back and not call it a mistake. Call it was the option that I knew at the moment. That's the one I took. It was the reactionary. It was the angry option. It was the fearful option. It was the defending option. So now that we know a little bit more, we can have more options than just the one. And with more choices, we have a chance to choose how we react with the world in a deeper aspect. So let's quickly get into this. I want to start off in the throat. This is where we express to the world. How many times have you gone in? Somebody was nasty, or somebody was quirky, or somebody, got one over on you or whatever. And oh, well, now I know I could have just said that. That would have been, And then you learn a little bit more, you learn a little bit more, you learn a little bit more, and you're like, in that situation, I could have just diffused the whole thing by doing that. Or I could have taken it and turned it into a boost for myself by doing this. And no, slamming someone back is never a boost for yourself. It's a defensive mechanism. It is trying to defend yourself, and you cannot defend yourself and boost your self-confidence at the same time. When you truly feel the self-confidence, it's seen. I had the most wonderful lady yesterday tell me that I presented, and the energy and the aura around me was that of a healthy, happy person. And I couldn't think at this stage of my life of a better compliment than that. So thank you. And let's keep going on that path. So starting off in the throat chakra, this is how our choices come out into the world, through our mouths, through our facial expressions, through our actions, through how we interact with all of it. Fill that up, and we're going to go up, indigo and crown. Download the next step. Open up to unconditional love. Connect them, pull them out. Feel them harmonizing and vibrating together, this wonderful song of life happening within our bodies at the moment, right now. Connect to the earth. Be part of the conversation of the plants and the mushrooms and the roots and everything going on in life. Calm the tornado. See the doors and the mind palace. And this time we're going to go over here. I'm going to open this door, and this is the door to our immediate reactions. And we see beautiful bridges, all sturdy and solid, all ones that we have chosen. And we chose how to react defensively, and we chose to react in fear, and we chose to react from a place of weakness, and we chose to react to prove we're coming from a place of strength, and we chose to react with no self-esteem. And now we have a couple of other bridges here where we chose to react with integrity, and we chose to react with kindness, and we chose to react with compassion, understanding, confidence, fortitude, all these wonderful things. Now, on all of these bridges, they go about the same length. They're taking us from one place to another, from one synapse to another. They are the processing system that leads the emotional response and reaction to these situations in our brain. And we're going to drop in one little red yarn. Goes across all of them at the same point. And that is the point where you recognize that you are going into a state different from your normal state of being. More fearful, more angry, more compassionate, more kind, more self-assured. And at the same point in all of them, we're going to stop. And this is our signal to take that deep breath that opens up all of the other options that we have, all these different bridges and all of these scenarios that we can now draw upon to make a decision about how we show up in the world, which also affects how the world shows up for us. Manifestation. We're going to do a deep breath a few times, so we're really going to imbue this piece of yarn. And we're going to let it stay intact all the way through. It is its entirely own entity. This deep breath, this bringing in of choices. Get as far down to your toes as you can without coughing. Feel that. See the options. Feel the breath. See the options. Let's go back into our throat chakra. Indigo and purple. Download. Accept unconditional love. Pull out. Feel the harmony of the different energy areas, the different frequencies, the different vibrations. Feel them working together for a beautiful tune like a choir. And put it all together with our connection to the earth, our connection to the energy, and our sovereignty over ourselves. And our breath in place to give us the options that we may not have had access to in the past. Have a great day as yourself with options. Namaste.